Your brain still treats silence like a deadly threat. That quiet moment when the world goes still doesn't feel peaceful to your nervous system. It feels like danger lurking just out of sight. And that ancient wiring is quietly shaping how you reach for your phone in every empty second or feel uneasy when a conversation suddenly drops. Your ancestors lived in a world where silence could mean the difference between life and death. For millions of years on the African savanna, the environment was rarely quiet. Leaves rustled with hidden movement, distant animal calls provided constant reassurance, branches snapped under the weight of approaching predators. The sudden absence of sound meant one thing: something dangerous was hiding, waiting, and listening intently. Your brain evolved to treat silence as an immediate alarm system designed for survival. Think about it carefully. Your nervous system developed a form of hypervigilance in environments where constant auditory cues signaled safety and normalcy. Birds calling overhead, insects buzzing in the grass, wind rustling through the trees. These were the everyday sounds of a living, breathing ecosystem full of life. When those sounds suddenly stopped, your ancestors' hearts began to race faster. They scanned the horizon with sharp eyes. They gripped their simple tools or weapons tighter in anticipation. That instinctive response kept countless generations alive long enough to pass on their genes. This isn't just evolutionary speculation or guesswork. Neuroscientist Dr. Stephen Porges developed the influential polyvagal theory over decades of research. It explains in detail how our autonomic nervous system constantly monitors the environment for subtle cues of safety or potential threat. In our deep ancestral past, silence registered as one of the most massive threat cues possible. Your vagus nerve, that long and wandering nerve connecting your brainstem directly to many organs in your body, still lights up today with exactly the same ancient danger signal when things get too quiet. You feel this mechanism active in your modern life without even realizing why it happens. Walk into an empty house after a particularly long and demanding day at work. The silence hits you almost immediately, like a wave. Suddenly you find yourself turning on the television or putting on some music just to fill the space. Or late at night, when everything around you finally quiets down, your mind starts racing with worries and thoughts that weren't bothering you during the busy daytime hours. That's not a sign of personal weakness or anxiety disorder. That's simply your Stone Age brain performing its original job description to the best of its ability. Consider the high evolutionary stakes involved here. Early humans who chose to ignore periods of unusual silence often didn't survive long enough to reproduce and pass on their genes to the next generation. Those individuals who instinctively treated quiet moments as a serious red flag lived longer on average. They would investigate the source of the stillness. They moved their group to what felt like safer ground. They remained alert and ready for action. Over hundreds of thousands of years, this strong preference for ongoing auditory stimulation became deeply hardwired into human neurology. Your brain craves sound on a fundamental level because prolonged silence once meant you might not live to see another morning on the savanna. But here's the truly counterintuitive twist that changes everything about how you understand your daily experiences. Modern environments have completely flipped this ancient survival mechanism on its head in surprising ways. We now live surrounded by almost constant artificial noise from every direction. Traffic humming outside, endless notifications pinging on our devices, background conversations in public spaces. Yet despite all that stimulation, we still feel profoundly uncomfortable during true, unfiltered silence. Your brain hasn't received the software update for the 21st century. It continues to interpret the lack of a rich natural soundscape as a potential ambush situation, even when you're perfectly safe and comfortable in your own bedroom at home. Research conducted by environmental psychologists has consistently shown that prolonged exposure to silence can actually increase cortisol levels, which is your body's primary stress hormone. One particularly revealing study led by Dr. Luciano Bernardi examined the physiological effects of music and silence. It found that even short periods of silence following musical exposure led to dramatic positive drops in heart rate and blood pressure. However, the initial transition into silence itself often caused a temporary spike in alertness and physiological arousal. Your body prepares for potential threat first before it can relax. You observe this fundamental mismatch playing out everywhere in contemporary society. People wear noise-canceling headphones even during quiet nature walks in beautiful parks. Corporate offices blast generic background music through speakers to prevent awkward, quiet moments. Popular meditation apps guide users with gentle ambient sounds or voice narration because pure, unadorned silence feels far too exposing and intense for most beginners. Your distant ancestors needed to detect the subtle sounds of a tiger moving stealthily through the tall grass. You use the same neurological hardware to stay alert for the email or message that might suddenly change your career trajectory or personal life. The underlying hardware remains remarkably unchanged. Let's take a deeper historical dive into how this system developed over time. Around 2 million years ago, our relatives Homo erectus began mastering the controlled use of fire. This innovation brought both light and comforting crackling sounds into the previously terrifying darkness of night. But even before fire and long after its discovery, the combination of darkness and quiet during nighttime hours represented periods of significantly heightened risk and vulnerability. Large predators such as lions, leopards, and hyenas were most active during low light conditions. In those environments, silence had the effect of amplifying every small noise dramatically. What might have been routine background sounds suddenly transformed into potential signals of an imminent attack. Your brain's amygdala, that small almond-shaped structure deep within the temporal lobe, responsible for processing fear and emotional responses, lights up particularly strongly in reaction to unexpected or prolonged silence. It's the exact same brain region that activates intensely during experiences of social rejection, public embarrassment, or immediate physical danger. Silence can feel strangely personal and threatening because your social brain evolved within tight-knit tribal groups. In those groups, extended quiet periods could signal group abandonment, internal conflict, or an approaching ambush by rival outsiders from another tribe. A landmark study by anthropologist Robin Dunbar, known for his work on social brain hypothesis in Dunbar's number, highlights how vocal grooming and constant chatter served as crucial tools for maintaining social bonds and cohesion in early human groups. Silence in those contexts disrupted the constant flow of connection and information sharing. Today, when conversations in meetings or social gatherings suddenly lull into awkward pauses, you experience the very same ancient discomfort rising up inside. You instinctively fill those gaps with nervous small talk or by checking your smartphone for distraction. This deeply ingrained neurological wiring explains a surprisingly wide array of common modern habits and behaviors that might otherwise seem puzzling. The compulsive habit of listening to podcasts or audiobooks during otherwise quiet commutes, the widespread popularity of white noise machines and background sound apps specifically designed to help people fall asleep at night, the common fear many people report of being left alone with their own unfiltered thoughts for extended periods. Your brain has learned to equate any form of internal or external quiet with potential external threat. It automatically pushes you toward external stimulation as the fastest way to restore that primal sense of safety and normalcy. Yet there is real power and potential for growth that comes from deeply understanding this ancient mechanism. Throughout human history, various cultures have successfully harnessed controlled and intentional silence for profound benefits. Monastic traditions in many world religions have long used extended periods of silence as a pathway to deeper reflection, spiritual insight, and mental clarity. Indigenous hunter-gatherer practices often incorporated quiet observation of the natural world as a way to attune more closely to environmental rhythms and subtle signs. But for the majority of people living in fast-paced industrialized societies, the automatic pull toward constant noise and distraction continues to dominate daily experience. Your modern mirror for this ancient pattern appears in countless situations throughout an ordinary day. The next time you notice yourself feeling restless or uneasy in a genuinely quiet space, pause and observe the sensation mindfully. That particular unease isn't random or meaningless. It's your distant ancestors effectively whispering survival instructions that originated from deep in humanity's evolutionary past. The very same system that once kept them safe from unseen predators now contributes to your modern addiction to notifications, endless social media scrolling, and the inability to sit comfortably without some form of background input. Scientists such as Dr. Esther Sternberg have conducted extensive research exploring precisely how different environmental cues, including sound levels, directly affect our overall stress response systems. In the wrong modern context, silence itself becomes an unexpectedly powerful cue that activates ancient pathways. Your body and brain don't automatically distinguish between the quiet savanna, where an ambush might be imminent, and the quiet modern moment where you're simply trying to relax after work. Consider this natural question that arises: why does your heart rate noticeably pick up when you step into an empty elevator alone? Why do you automatically reach to turn up the volume on the car radio during a stretch of quiet highway driving? These seemingly small reactions are direct echoes of that powerful ancient vigilance system still operating efficiently beneath your conscious awareness. The deeper implications of recognizing this pattern are truly profound and potentially life-changing. In our current world of nonstop digital noise and information overload, the deliberate act of reclaiming comfortable relationship with silence might represent one of the most quietly rebellious and empowering choices available. Your brain possesses remarkable neuroplasticity and can gradually learn new associations with quiet environments. Evidence based practices such as mindfulness meditation and silent retreats have been shown to effectively retrain the vagus nerve and autonomic responses toward perceiving safety, even in silence. However, achieving this shift requires consistent conscious effort in opposition to millions of years of evolutionary programming favoring constant alertness. You carry the sophisticated ancient alarm system with you everywhere you go each day. It once served the vital purpose of protecting your ancestors from a wide variety of unseen and unpredictable dangers in their harsh environment. In the present day, it continues to powerfully influence your need for constant connection, digital distraction, and external sensory input of all kinds. And so the next time silence unexpectedly falls around you in your daily life, pause for a moment and remember this core truth. Your brain still treats it like a deadly threat from the distant past, but now that you understand the full evolutionary story behind it, you gain the awareness and power to respond differently, more intentionally, and ultimately with greater freedom from those automatic ancient impulses.